Okay, this week's video will be on week 17. I'll start off with the Falcons versus the Saints. Matt Ryan, MVP candidate. The Saints defensive line has to be real ready for him and their defensive backs because he has three big targets that he can hit. Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and Justin Hardy. They have to cover those guys really good. And Coleman had a real good rushing game last week. And he can beat you up that defensive lineup, and he will hurt you, and then he could shut the game out with some big runs at the end. So this Saints defense though has to be ready because this Falcons offense is really good, and they have to be ready for them because Cameron Jordan has to step up and break through the line and start getting some sacks and start making them throw the ball and have their defensive backs ready to get ready to pick some. But this offense, though, is pretty good too. Drew Brees didn't have a great game last week, but they could still be ready to go. Mark Ingram, who did real good last week, he's a big guy. He can push right through your defensive line. So this Falcons defense also has to be ready. They have to push right through that line and get to Drew Brees and make him start to make mistakes, and that's how you'll end up winning games. But I think Atlanta is still too good of a team. Saints maybe next year could beat them, but I think it'll be Atlanta. Then Jaguars, Colts. Okay, so Colts, they didn't have a great game last week against the Raiders. They just couldn't get things going. They were down 33-14. Derek Carr was just firing to Jalen Richard and stuff. Their defense couldn't hold them. It wasn't a good game played by the Colts. But Andrew Luck, if he could start running a little bit more and hitting those deep balls like he did against the Raiders to T.Y. Hilton, T.Y. Hilton had 4 catches for 105 yards. I think that's one of his best games this season, and their defense needs to strengthen that. This Jaguars team is coming off a big win against Tennessee. They won 38-17, and they just gotta keep that momentum going. Even though they're only 3-12, gotta make a shot to beat their rivals, the Colts. But Andrew Luck needs to find T.Y. Hilton like he did against the Raiders and keep that momentum going. But this defense has to really strengthen up, and Jaguars have to stop with the penalties. They've had so many penalties, and they gotta stop that and put the pressure on Luck to making bad decisions. But I think I'm going Colts. Then Bengals, Ravens. This is going to be a really good game. Steelers, they somehow came out to win with Antonio Brown scoring the touchdown, and they put the game away 31-27. Very disappointing for Baltimore, starting the season off 3-0. Then they finally lost to Oakland, but they came back up and started winning games, but now they're out of the playoffs at 8-7. But this Bengals team, they have not been playing well, with a very disappointing miss by Bullock against the Texans. They lost 12-10. That was very disappointing. It seemed like they were starting to go, and he missed it wide right. It was very disappointing, but those type of things happen. But you'd think this Bengal team would just be on fire this season, but instead it turned out that they're going to be 5-9-1 this season, which is very disappointing because Andy Dalton stuff, they started to get going, and then they just lost some big games. So I think I'll go Baltimore. Dolphins, Patriots. This is going to be a very good game because the Patriots this year are 13-2. Even though without the great Rob Gronkowski, they still have been on fire as they smushed the Jets 41-3. Tom Brady was getting all fired up, getting deep throws, and their defense, LeGarrette Blount, the Dolphins have to be ready. Ndamukong Suh has to be ready to make some tackles. Cameron Wake, they got to team up, put the pressure on Tom Brady and make him do mistakes, and then just start picking the ball and see if they can get something going on defense. But on the offensive side for Miami, they've had a beautiful season. J.J. had put a 52-yard run against the Buffalo Bills, and that's for the winning field goal in overtime. And this Moore, he's not bad, replacing Ryan Tannehill, who got hurt, and their running game, they got Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry, and I think they could possibly beat the New England Patriots. I'm going Miami. And then Vikings-Bears. The Vikings, I don't know what's been going on, but they started 5-0 undefeated. They went 2-8 since with a big loss to Green Bay. They couldn't get anything going. And Chicago, though, on the other hand, beat them last time on Monday Night Football in Chicago, but they have had a terrible season themselves too. 3-12. They've lost Jay Cutler. They've had to put in their backup, who hasn't been doing great, and they've just been not doing very great. So, but this Vikings run game, they've lost Teddy Bridgewater, Adrian Peterson, Stephon Diggs was out for a couple of games, and they've just lost some key players that's made them slow down. So, but I think the Vikings could still pull it off, though. I think they're still a pretty good team, but it's not as well as they wanted it to turn out. But I think I'm going Minnesota. Then Packers-Lions. Sunday Night Football. This is going to be a very good game. Packers have turned their team around. 4-6. They've won their last 5 games. It's been outstanding, played by Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson and Davante Adams. They've just been connecting each other like magnets against the Vikings, with 2 touchdown catches by Jordy Nelson, a touchdown catch by Davante Adams, a run touchdown by Aaron Rodgers. And this Lions defense, they have to be ready for them, because these Packers have been on fire. And the Lions defensive line, one of the best defenses. Ziggy Ansah has to step up, put the pressure on Aaron Rodgers, get sacks, stop the running game, make them force them to throw the ball, and they got to make sure their defensive backs are ready. And the Lions, their offense, Matthew Stafford has just been playing beautifully, and he's been throwing to Golden Tate. Golden Tate's been doing real good, getting some big plays downfield. But I really think that this Detroit team could pull off a big win and claim the NFC North, because this Packers team, even though they got Clay Matthews back, I think Lions are ready for them. I'm going Detroit. Then Bills-Jets. Jets, I don't know what's been going on with them. They're 4-11. They pulled out Fitzpatrick, put in Bryce Petty. Bryce Petty, he was starting to get going, but then he got hit by Malcolm Butler on his arm, and it's Fitzpatrick threw an interception against New England. They just could not get on the board. And then, but Buffalo, Tyrod Taylor, he seems like he could do something. He's been playing very well, and with one of the best running teams in the league, with LaShawn McCoy, Carlos Williams. They've got a very powerful defensive line and running backs, and I feel like they could stop this Jets team and put this game away. And Tyrod Taylor could hit some deep balls to Sammy Watkins, and they could get something going and hit the Jets early. I'm going Buffalo. Then Cowboys-Eagles. I don't know what's been going on with Dallas, but they are just winning every game that they play, besides when they play New York. But this Cowboys team, they got 2 great drafters, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott's the best rusher in the league right now, and he can just plow downfield. He could jump over you like you're a hurdle, but this Eagles team, they have some good defense alignment, and I think Logan and Fletcher Cox, and I think they could start stopping them and forcing Dak Prescott out of the pocket and making him feel a little bit more uncomfortable. But this Cowboys team, they do have the best offensive line. I think they could stop the Eagles, but I think there will be a couple plays where Dak Prescott is going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, even though he has some big targets like Dez Bryant and Cole Beasley. But this Eagles offense has to pick up speed, though, but I'm going Dallas. Then Browns-Steelers. Steelers have finally clinched the AFC North, not Cincinnati. Very surprising victory, turnaround over Baltimore in Pittsburgh, 31-27, with Antonio Brown with that great touchdown catch. And this Browns team ended up winning their first game against the San Diego Chargers. The San Diego missed it. Josh Lambo, he missed the field goal wide right. They beat Chargers 2017. I think RG3 turned their team around. I think if they keep playing him, I think they could get more wins than one game. But Pittsburgh, I think it's a little bit too early for Cleveland. But this Pittsburgh team Ben Roethlisberger could really start getting on Antonio Brown. But Antonio Brown, he started out pretty bad against the Ravens. But I think he'll be a little bit more prepared this game. And I think he'll go pick Pittsburgh. Then, Panthers-Buccaneers. Now, Panthers are kicked out of the playoffs. Unbelievable, as Cam Newton, the MVP, and the NFC champions. It's just unbelievable. They got kicked out of the playoffs. They lost some huge games that they should have got with the missed field goal by Gano in the first game against Denver. They started 0-1, and it just hit them hard from then on. But this Buccaneers team, they still have a shot at the playoffs and taking it from Green Bay if Green Bay loses. But this team has to be real ready for Carolina, because even though they've beat them already this year, Robert Aguayo can still miss some huge field goals. So have to be ready for that. But Panthers, with some rookie corners, they have to be ready for some big guys like Mike Evans, Robert Herron, and guys like that. So they have to be prepared. And this defensive line by the Buccaneers, this overall defense has really improved with Alteron Werner at cornerback. They picked up Robert Ayers Jr. as defensive lineman. They got Levante David, Quan Alexander. They've really just been improving. And I think this Tampa team still can beat them again. So I'm going Tampa. Then, Seahawks-Niners. Niners somehow pull off their second victory, both against the Rams. Colin Kaepernick put up a good show with the final 2-point conversion to win. But the Seattle team is really something, though, even though they missed that extra point to beat the Cardinals. It was 31-31. Their defense had to strengthen up a little bit at the end, because the Cardinals just came down and kicked the final field goal with 0 timeouts left, and that put the game away. But I think the Seahawks team is more prepared. This Niners team is still a little bit too young with Chip Kelly as their head coach, but I think I'm going to go with Seattle. Then Texans-Titans. Titans lost their quarterback Marcus Mariota as he broke his fibula. Very unexpected. But as the Texans clinched the AFC South, though, with the Tennessee loss to Jacksonville, Tennessee was very disappointing. Also, since they beat Kansas City the week before with the winning field goal by Suckup. And the Texans, though, with Jadavion Clowney leading the defensive line, without J.J. Watt, though, they still got one of the best defenses. And with Vance Wilfork, he's been doing great on the front, putting pressure on their quarterbacks. But they've got to watch Tom Savage. He can hit some deep balls to DeAndre Hopkins, and the Titans have to be ready for that. Although they have a great running game with DeMarco Murray, I think I'm going to go with Houston. Then Giants Redskins. Now this is going to be a good game. Kirk Cousins, he can lob the ball, and he has some great receivers and tight ends like Pierre Garcon, Deshaun Jackson, and then this rookie running back. He's been doing great for them, but Eli Manning's still committing a ton of turnovers. He's got to stop those interceptions with a huge loss against Philadelphia to kick them out of the NFC East champion run. But the OBJ and stuff, they're still doing great, though he's had a couple drops that should have been caught. But actually, I think Redskins could pull this off. Their defense with Ryan Kerrigan and stuff, and Josh Norman, they've been doing a great job. But they lost to Carolina, which was sad, but they still fought on, and even though they lost, they still had a pretty good game. Although the Giants are very good, I think I'm going Redskins. Then Raiders Broncos. Derek Carr broke his fibula against the Colts, which is very disappointing. On their way to their first postseason since 2003, it was very disappointing for them. And Matt McGloin, he came in very confident. He hit 2 of 3 very deep balls to put the game away. But this Denver team, with a huge loss against KC to put them out of the playoffs as Super Bowl champs, their defense, they've got to regroup, and Von Miller's got to step up and get some sacks and stop them. The Raiders, I would not give up them in the postseason. I'm still with Oakland. They can still do it. They still have Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper, Clive Walford, Jalen Richard, and also DeAndre Washington averaged 8.5 yards a rush with 2 touchdowns. I think they could still do it. I think they could win in the playoffs, and I don't think this Denver team is yet ready for them. So I think I'm going Oakland. Then Cardinals Rams. Okay, so Arizona with a huge comeback against Seattle. Unbelievable. They just put the field goal up to win, and they scored 34 points against Seattle, which is very hard. Last time they tied at 6. But LA, they've got to get something going. They're 4-11. They've lost to San Francisco both times, which is the second worst team in the NFL, which is very disappointing to lose to. And this Cardinals team, you have to watch out. David Johnson is now selected to the Pro Bowl, and he is something else. He can take your lineman with him the whole way. He will spin, he'll move, and he will score touchdowns for Arizona when they need them. And this LA team with Jared Goff, I don't think they're ready for Arizona. I think Arizona's going to get it. Rams have had a pretty disappointing game and season. But I think it'll be Arizona though. And then finally, Chargers versus Chiefs. Now this is going to be a very good game because remember, in week 1 when these two teams faced off each other, San Diego was winning the game in KC. It was 27-27. They went to OT, and then Chargers just gave it up for the Chiefs, and it was 27-33. Chiefs won with the touchdown. But this Chargers team, they lost to Cleveland, which is very unbelievable because if they can beat Denver and they lose to Cleveland, it's kind of off the charts. But the Chiefs, though, the Chiefs have just been a great team. Tyreek Hill with touchdowns every game. He's got 11 touchdowns this year. I think it's one of the best in the NFL, second best. And they've just been very good. Even without Jamal Charles, they've hit the Travis Kelce, and he's done very well for them with the big game against Denver. And I'm going with the Chiefs because this Chargers team, they're still regrouping after that 4-12 season last year, and I think I'm going Chiefs. Alright, thank you for watching Hot Rare Block, and I'll see you next week.